So today I'm going to be talking about what a lot of people think is a very basic chord. It's an E chord. It looks like this. It has its root on the 6th string. Root note is the kind of foundation stone of a chord, if you will. Gives it its name, acts like a full stop on the end of a sentence musically. There's our root note. Okay. What we're going to concentrate on today is its role as a bar chord. And a bar chord, for those of you who don't know, is a movable chord. The reason it's movable is because it doesn't have any open strings. So here's our E chord. I'm just going to pretend for a moment that I can't use my index finger here. I'm going to change the fingering round. I'm going to play it with my 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers. Okay, this leaves my index finger free. Okay, now you can see the nut of the guitar here is holding effectively the open strings, the ones I'm not holding down. So if I put my first finger behind the nut, that starts to give us an idea of what things might look like if that shape is moved up. A lot of people get confused when the shape's moved because they think it's different, but it's actually not different. So if you've had a look at the video I did on sharps and flats, or come to that, anybody else did, you'll know that E and F are next to each other. The notes are next to each other. They're a semitone apart or a half step. So that means that the chord you base on those notes will also be a half step away. So if this is E, this must be F. And once we've established that, it would be reasonable to say that this must be G. In between we'd have F sharp or G flat, but let's concern ourselves with the natural chords for the moment, i.e. not sharp or flat. So here's F, here's G, here's A, here's B, C, D, and E. Now if we've gone up as far as E, that means we've gone through a whole octave of chords. This is really good news because it means with this E, I'm going to call it an E shape, although it's creating different chords as it goes along. Its origin is E. It means we can play every single major chord there is, at least in one position on the neck, just by knowing that shape. Now this is really, really important. When you look at discussions about chord books, or look at chord books themselves, it's, you know, they look like the old telephone directories used to be, 6,000 chords for guitar and chord encyclopedias and things. The thrust of this whole thing is that it's showing you that it's got lots of chords to show you, which on the one hand sounds like it's good value. On the other hand, it usually scares the living daylights out of anybody trying to play a guitar. So we're going to go around the opposite way to that. We're going to say, well, actually, there's not very many chord shapes at all. There's lots of possibilities, but in terms of actual shapes, there's very few. So, okay, to give you an example of that, let's suppose I said, well, here's E minor. Now that's only a minimal difference. It's like a sort of a modification on a particular model of car. A 2 litre or an 1800 or a diesel or whatever. Okay, so these are all still E shapes. So I think of that as one thing. It's an E shape. It's an E shape which has been altered to make it minor. It's an E shape which has been altered to make it a 7th. Now the great news here is that this will work wherever else I do it. So here's my E shape again, this time creating a chord of G, G minor, G 7th. Now the point of what I'm saying is I think of that as one thing with some variations. In a chord book, that's 36 diagrams, 36 things to carry around in your head instead of one. And there's lots of different advantages to thinking of that as being the same shape. From not only thinking where you can find chords very easily, but also what things you can play based around those chords. So if I play a little run here, well, that's going to be the same here, isn't it? same thing. Otherwise the Beatles couldn't have gone, couldn't it? It wouldn't have worked. So, okay, that's our E-shaped bar chords. Now, before we leave that subject, the worst thing you can possibly do is to just sit there all day trying to remember where your E-shaped chords are. Okay, that's not constructive. It's not fun. It's not fun to do at all, really. What I'd say is this. You need to put them in a song. Now, these can be something very basic, and that's basic's a good thing. If we take the song So Far Away by Dire Straits, it starts with a B, then an A, and then an E. Okay, which gives us this. So that's an easy way of learning where your A and your B is. So then you play another song which says, well, okay, well, what if I did this? Okay, so again, another great example, Midnight Hours. So we've got D, B, A, G. So you learn that song, you know where those chords are, and if you know where those are, it's easy to find the others. Anyway, that's it for now. As ever, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll look forward to talking to you about more chords in the second of this little series, which will be about A-shape bar chords. Bye for now.